All right, folks. I know that you are probably as excited as I am today because we are going to move on today to four-step equations. Just keeps getting better every time. Four-step equations. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, since you've already been doing three-step equations, that means that you know 3 out of the 4 steps. And those are going to be 2, 3, and 4 in this list. So our new step that we added last time was add or subtract to cancel the smallest variable. Remember what we saw last time. We saw that variable start to show up on both sides, which it can't do. So we add or subtract to cancel out the smallest. Then we undo the adding or subtracting that's happening to the variable. And then we undo the multiplication or division that's happening to the variable, so that the variable is ultimately alone. So those 3 steps that I have on the board right now, you have been dealing with now for a couple of days. So now what we are going to do is look at 4-step equations, and these equations will have, why is my marker not working? Will have parentheses in them. So, step 1, our new step, is going to be to distribute if necessary. So step 1, distribute if necessary. Now you all will remember a few weeks ago we did an entire week of nothing but distributive property, where we took a number and we multiplied it by every member of a group that was inside of parentheses. So we're going to bring that back and use it in our equation solving today. So distribute if necessary, add or subtract to cancel the smallest variable, undo adding or subtracting, undo multiplying or dividing. These are our 4 steps. So over here beside it, I am going to do our first example. All right, so let's do 3 times 6x minus 1. Notice it is 3 times the group 6x minus 1 equals 11x minus 45. So this is a 4-step equation. All right, now you know what we're going to do first. We're going to draw a line through our equal sign, and now we're going to start our steps. So the first step is going to be to distribute if necessary. Well, it is necessary because here we have a number 3 that's being multiplied by the group 6x minus 1. Now I want you to notice that group has 2 members. That group has 6x as its first member. Let me try that again. 6x as his first member. And then that group also has a negative 1 as its second member. So that 3 is going to get multiplied by each member of that group. So first I'm going to do 3 times 6x. 3 times 6 is 18. Reattach your x. And now we're going to do 3 times negative 1, which is negative 3. Negative 3, so I put minus 3. So when I distribute, I end up with 18x minus 3. On the other side, I don't have to distribute because there is no group. So this is just going to stay 11x minus 45. So with that, step 1 is done. Step 1 is done. So now we're dealing with 18x minus 3. is equal to 11x minus 45. So we're on step 2. We're going to add or subtract to cancel the smallest variable. So let's look at our variables. Our variables are 18x and 11x. Out of those two, the smallest is positive 11x. So to cancel out a positive 11x, I would do minus 11x. Minus 11x. I have to do it to both sides. 11 minus 11 is 0. Those cancel. So let's see what we have now. 18x minus 11x is 7x, not 9. Excuse me. Minus 3. And that's equal to, notice on this side, minus 45, negative 45. So make sure you bring that sign with you. So we have 7x minus 3 is equal to a negative 45. We found our smallest variable, and we subtracted it from both sides to cancel it out. So now we need to undo adding or subtracting. So remember, this is where I always cover up my variables. So I'm going to cover up 7x, and what I see is minus 3. I see subtracting 3. So I'm going to undo that by adding 3. Both sides. I'm going to slide that cover away. Minus 3 plus 3 cancels. So we have 7x equals negative 45 plus 3 is a negative 42. So we have undone our adding or subtracting. Now we're going to undo multiplying or dividing. So we have 7x. That means 7 times x. So we have to undo multiplying by 7. So we will divide by 7, divide by 7. Multiplying by 7, dividing by 7 cancels. So x is alone. Negative 42 divided by 7 is a negative 6. And we end up with x equal to a negative 6 after all 4 of those steps are done. So notice again here how if you will simply take it one step at a time, I would recommend that you take a second to pause the video and write down these 4 steps. Write down these 4 steps so that you'll have them to kind of go by as a little checklist for what you need to do to get through these equations. Do one thing at a time until you get through all 4 of these steps. And even though it's a little bit of a pain, I'll go ahead and continue to write them down as we do these to kind of help us with that. All right, so here's the next equation that we're going to solve. And I'm going to begin, as always, by drawing that line down the middle so that I can clearly see my 2 sides. All right, step 1 is going to be to distribute if necessary. And it is necessary because when I look at the first side of my equation, I have the number 4 being multiplied by a group, 2a minus 1. And in that group there are 2 members. There's 2a and there is minus 1, negative 1. All right, on the other side, I have the number negative 10, again being multiplied by a group, and the members of that group are a, which I know to be 1a, and then minus 5. Whoops, need my highlighter. Minus 5, which I know to be a negative 5. So I'm going to have to distribute on both sides of this problem. So 4 is going to get multiplied by both members of this group. So first up, 4 times 2a. 4 times 2 is 8, so that becomes 8a. And then 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. So 8a minus 4. On this side, both members of my group are going to get multiplied by negative 10. So I do negative 10 times 1a. Negative 10 times 1 is negative 10a. And then be careful on this second part. Please look at the screen and make sure you see what I'm talking about here. We're doing a negative 10 times a negative 5. Negative 10 times a negative 5, which is a positive, plus 50. So on both sides, I had a number being multiplied by a group. So I have to distribute, multiply each of those numbers by each member of their group. So distributive is done. All right, step 2, add or subtract to cancel the smallest variable. Add or subtract to cancel the smallest variable. Well, what are my variables? My variables are 8a on this side and negative 10a on this side. Who is smaller, 8 or negative 10? Well, the answer, of course, is negative 10. And since I see minus 10a, I'm going to do the opposite and do plus 10a to cancel him out. Which means I'll have to do plus 10a over here as well. Minus 10a plus 10a, that cancels the smallest variable. So now let's see what we have. 8a plus 10a is 18a. Then I have a minus 4, and that's equal to a positive 50. So I have added or subtracted to cancel the smallest variable. Next up, I'm going to undo adding or subtracting. So you all know what I always do at this point, or hopefully you do. Cover up my variable, 18a. I see subtracting 4. So I will undo that by adding 4. And remember, the purpose of that cover on the variable is just so I can focus on one number and getting rid of him. All right, so move your cover. And let's see what we've got. Subtracting 4, adding 4. We know what's going to happen there. We have 18a is equal to 50 plus 4, which is 54. So I have undone addition or subtraction. And now we know, to finish this off, we undo multiplying or dividing. So when I look at my variable, 18a, I see 18 times a. So I will do the opposite and divide by 18. Multiplying by 18, dividing by 18, go away. A equals 54 divided by 18, which is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. One step at a time. Focus on what you're doing in that step and you will be fine. You have got to watch your signs though. Positives and negatives matter, and those are the places where we'll miss these. All right, I'm going to do one last problem with you. One last problem with you. And again, I think I'll do the same thing. As I go, I'll write down my steps over here and then I'll do my problem on this side. Okay, this time we are going to do a negative 3 times x plus 5 is equal to 3 times x minus 1. And before we start solving this problem, I want to point out something real quickly. This x is actually 1x, and this x is actually 1x. So you may want to insert those ones just to kind of make life easier for you. So what is step 1? Step 1 is to distribute if necessary. Do I have a number multiplied by a group? And the answer is yes, I have it on both sides. So I have the number negative 3 being multiplied by a group that has two members, 1x and positive 5. So that's what I have over here. And then on side 2, oh shoot, you know what I forgot? I forgot my line. How could y'all let me do that? All right, so now here's what we do. We take our number on this side, which is a 3, And he is going to get multiplied by the two members of the group, which are 1x and negative 1. So we're going to distribute on both sides. We're going to multiply the number times each member of the group that they have inside parentheses. So a negative 3 times 1x is a negative 3x. And a negative 3 times a positive 5 is a negative 15. So negative 3x minus 15. On this side, we'll do 3 times 1x, which is 3x. And then 3 times negative 1, which is a negative 3. Watch your signs. Notice how I am calling things positive or negative as I see them. So distribute if necessary is done. All right, so now I have a 3-step equation. So now I'm going to add or subtract to cancel the smallest variable. So, what are my variables? Well, my variables are negative 3x and positive 3x. Who is smaller, negative 3 or positive 3? The answer is negative 3x is smaller. And since I have minus 3x, I will do the opposite of plus 3x to cancel that out. So plus 3x on both sides is what I need to do to cancel out that smallest variable of minus 3x. Negative 3x plus 3x cancels. So look what you have here. You have a negative 15. Now look at this and see why he's negative. There's a minus in front of him. That's equal to 3x plus 3x, which is 6x, minus 3. So I have added or subtracted to cancel the smallest variable. Now, I'm going to undo addition or subtraction. So now this is the point where, as usual, cover up 6x so I can see that I have subtract 3. So I undo it by the opposite, add 3. That happens on both sides. Get rid of your cover. Subtract 3, add 3. And by the way, when you cover, you can use, and that's the reason I'm using this square, because I can't show you on the board the way I'm doing it. You can just use your thumb to cover that up as your cover. All right, negative 15 plus 3 is a negative 12, and that is equal to 6x. So we have undone addition or subtraction. So we finish off with undo multiplication or division. So what do we have? Well, we have 6x. 6 times x, this is multiply. So we're going to divide by 6. The multiply by 6, the divide by 6, cancel. X is alone. Negative 12 divided by 6 is negative 2 is our solution. And we have done all 4 steps. So again, before you turn this video off and try the assignment, I would copy these 4 steps down onto a piece of paper, and I would keep that beside me as I do these problems. If you have questions, please let me know. When you all return to school next week, we will be doing some review, but we will also be talking next week about 5-step equations, which is going to be these 4 steps that you're doing right now plus 1 more. So we need to make sure we've got these 4 steps under control. So if there are any questions, please, please, please let me know.